Hello, welcome back. I hope you've done the readings and some of the online activities in Moodle. Today we'll be discussing our first concept, which is medium versus content through the lens of Marshall McLuhan and Guy Debord. We will debate two central beliefs of critical media theory, media versus content. We will examine these two concepts and their effects through the writings of Marshall McLuhan and Guy Debord. The term media, which is the plural of medium, refers to the communication channels through which we broadcast news, music, movies, education, promotional messages, and other data. It includes physical and online newspapers and magazines, television, radio, telephone, the internet, fax, and billboard. It describes the various ways through which we communicate in society. Because it refers to all means of communication, everything ranging from a telephone call to the evening news on television can be called media. Content, on the other hand, is defined as the essence of a communicated message or discourse as comprehended or received by its intended audience. Can also be the text matter of a document or publication in any form. Content is both information and communication, the sum of the freshness, readability, relevancy, and usefulness of the information presented and the way it is presented. Today we'll be trying to critically understand where the power of media lies. Is it in the medium, as in the evolving technology we see today, or in the content which this media carries to audience every day? Let's first look at content through the eyes of Guy Debord. Guy Debord is one of France's social theorists. He described himself as a filmmaker. He was also one of the founding members and leading theoretician of the Situationist International, the SI. The SI is a revolutionary group of artists and thinkers which, from its inception in 1957, went on to shape and inform a great deal of revolutionary thinking and strategy within the French left in the 1960s. The term situationist refers to the construction of situations, one of the early central concepts of the SI. The term also refers to any individuals engaged in the construction of situations, or more narrowly to members of the SI. As a leading theorist of the group, Debord had a notion that all human relations are mediated by images from television, newspapers, and advertising. He called this the spectacle. Debord defines the spectacle as the autocratic reign of the market economy. He used the term the spectacle to describe mass media, defining it as a mere instrument, a kind of public service. Debord described the spectacle as capitalism's instrument for distracting and pacifying the masses. The spectacle takes on many more forms today than it did during Debord's lifetime. It can be found on every screen that you look at. It is the advertisements on every street and the pop-up ads that appear in your browser. The spectacle reduces reality to an endless supply of products, fragments, while encouraging us to focus on appearances. So mass media in Debord's theory equals to the message the media is carrying to the public. Debord did not pay attention to the means through which content is generated in the first place. Instead, he focused on the ways in which the life of all individuals has become subordinate to the commodity and its logic. In all its displays, news or propaganda, advertising, or the actual consumption of entertainment, the spectacle epitomizes the prevailing model of social life. It is the omnipresent celebration of a choice already made in the sphere of production and the consummate result of that choice that governs almost all time spent outside the production process itself. An obvious example to that today is social media companies such as Facebook and Twitter, which monetize our friendships, opinions, and emotions. Our internal thoughts and experiences are now commodities. However, the effects of the message media is carrying are not only economical, the effects are on all aspects of our social life, which means it can be political too. A good example of the political effects of content is Bassem Youssef's satire show El Barnamij. The show began on YouTube in 2011, the height of social media use in Egypt. It, however, only gained momentum in 2013 while on television. What changed in the show while moving from YouTube to television is the message and how it is presented to the audience. Bassem Youssef had training in the US to be able to adapt CNN's famous satire program, The Daily Show, and Egypt's CBC provided the appealing, luxurious look and feel of the American show to the Egyptian people. The content in that show had huge effects on audience. It paved the way to the June 2013 revolution. Content is not only the scripts the producers write for the show, it is also the format these scripts are put in. Regarding البرنامج, satire was the format. It is one of the methods created by SI members to express both the domination of a consumer culture and the road to liberation from that culture. The SI called that method détournement, which means rerouting or hijacking in French. Détournement is taking pre-existing images and mixing them together to highlight the underlying ideology of the original image. Though the SI identified film as being the most effective medium for détournement, البرنامج's producer jammed the Muslim Brotherhood culture and the state-politicized media to highlight the underlying ideology of the ruling regime, then by turning expressions of the regime against itself, which turned the political status quo. They used the language and rhetoric of the mainstream culture then to critique and rebel that culture. The tournament was prominently used to set up rebellious political pranks, which is an influential tactic called situationist prank. Dubois, with members of the SI, also developed the idea of the drève, which means in French drifting or wandering, as a practice of aimlessly walking throughout the city to discover and record its more alluring ambiances. A drève could last hours, an evening, or several days. They would use the information they collected to reconstruct another type of city in which spontaneity and imagination triumphed over the rationalization of space. They argued that a city that reflects desire would undo the crippling effects that a highly organized urban terrain has on the human mind. That is not the only way to look at it. Marshall McLuhan, who was born in 1911 in Canada, was a communications theorist and educator. McLuhan had critical view of the 20th century society's self-transformation. He was more interested in the media itself rather than the content. He summarized his view of the influence in the name of one of his books, which is "The Medium is the Message." McLuhan was associated with the University of Toronto. He was a popular lecturer as a professor of English literature there and was made director of the university's Center for Culture and Technology in 1963. In 1962, McLuhan published the Gutenberg Galaxy, The Making of Typographic Man, the first of several books in which he examined communications and society. The Medium is the Message was the title of the first chapter of his book, Understanding Media, which was published in 1962. In that first chapter of Understanding Media, he talks about how the medium is the message. He first defines medium as any extension of ourselves, which you will find written in page 9. He then goes on to talk about how the content of any medium is always another medium. He used the electric light as an example, saying that it can be described as a medium without a medium. In page 11 of that chapter, McLuhan states that it is the medium that shapes and controls the scale and form of human association and action. McLuhan also states that it is only too typical that the content of any medium blinds us to the character of the medium. On page 14, he says nothing follows from following except change. What this means is that change is always going to happen. This is especially true in our culture today, due to that fact that following is now the norm. On page 15 through 16, McLuhan states that the whole of society, so to speak, is founded upon a single fact. Everything springs from a simple principle. McLuhan then goes on to talk about media and how there is a civil war, like mentally, between media and other groups. For instance, on page 28, he says that for each of the media is also a powerful weapon with which to clobber other media and other groups. This can reframe the current situation in the USA, the war between the American president and media. The medium is the message is one of the most discussed concepts in media theory. 60 years later to the publishing of their ideas, both thinkers are considered leading media theorists of their time, with their views still relevant in the digital age. In the 21st century, the same concerns have been arising about the rise of artificial intelligence, smartphones, and the Internet of Things. Everyday technologies don't just give us access to the media, they help us organize, communicate, socialize, and navigate. So the board's warning against the horrors of content is still relevant with advertising. At the same time, McLuhan's idea that the content blinds us to the character of the medium is still relevant too. It is the way we use media that has a larger effect on us than the content we draw from it. McLuhan writes that the content of a medium blinds us to the character of the medium, which can relate to news as it does not matter where you get it. It is important to learn how to use media as it affects us more than the content we take from it. It is important to you all at this point to think which of the two theories you would side with. To decide on that, you need to look first at both sides, content and medium. Maybe it is not one of them, but both are equally important. The task for today's online session is critical analysis. You need to watch We Didn't Start the Fire video on Moodle. You will find also a link to the lyrics of the song. Have a look at the lyrics, then critically analyze the video in terms of what it is saying about history and what it is saying about memory. Regarding this week's tasks, I've put up more videos on Moodle. You need to go through all of them before we meet on Wednesday. After submitting the task for this online session, you need to watch all other 4 videos on Moodle and play the brain game. You have until Wednesday to play the game. See you.